Oh, we're live. Episode, is this 64 or 65? 64. This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan. What's up? Happy Memorial Day. Or actually, I should say to all those that have fallen Memorial Day weekend, you are remembered.
Yeah, I don't know how to talk after that. I wasn't expecting that intro, man.
Hey, that's what I do. Here's the thing. I come from a long line of military, and I always found it interesting when people say, like, oh, happy Memorial Day. It wasn't a time to be happy. It was a time for remember those that have fallen that led the way to where we are. And whether you like the way the direction of the country is today, it can only get better. I don't think it can really get worse.
Yeah, in some metaphorical way, I imagine it's kind of like walking up to a group of people at a funeral and saying, hey, have a happy funeral.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, not that it's sad in the sense that it's sad, but, you know, there's a cultural significance to it that's rooted in the death of, soldiers, right? I mean, I should say service people. Not just... What's that?
Peace is only found at the other end of the sword.
Empires are built on the bones of heroes, man.
That's right.
It is. There's no other way around it. We can pretend. Well, I mean, this isn't what I wanted to talk about today, but we can go this way and see where we end up. By the way, the wall is a metaphor, which we'll get to.
It's because you support Donald Trump's theory on building the wall.
No, not even close. It's because on a daily basis, I feel like this is what I'm talking to. Which is what I wanted to talk about today, which we've kind of touched on, I guess, in roundabout ways, but we've never really directly talked about how to manage communication in tech, particularly in the environments that you and I have worked in a lot, which is with people that are remote. I don't know that it's any easier or harder. I think it's easier to forget that people exist when they're remote. What the fuck?
Is that coming in good?
There it is. Now it is. Oh yeah.
This is how I this is how I do it.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, the Balvenie Doublewood 12 years.
I got myself some nice Belgian Tripel beer waiting on me. It's just too early to drink here yet. Because, hey.
What?
It's only 11 o'clock, man. I still got to go to lunch. You know what I mean? But this is my last podcast from California.
If you were a true dwarf, you would be drinking ale all the time.
Oh, man.
But you're right. You know, the wall aspect, even those that appear as if they are listening to the message have an ulterior motive.
Well, the thing that we were going to talk about this last week, but we had to reschedule. So where the thought came from was, and certainly, I mean, we could pick where we work now and talk about it, but I don't know that it's any less true at any other place for anybody else, conceptually, right? Yeah. Is this notion that how hard is it just to say to somebody, hey, this is what I've done, or hey, this is what I'm going to do, or hey, what are you working on? Or how do you want this done? And it seems like, to me, somehow we get the perception that communication requires these lengthy discussions or these lengthy rants, when really, in my experience, it's the 1 or 2 sentence emails or the 1 or 2 sentence text messages or the 30-second phone call or whatever, right? That simply says, hey, look, exactly what I just said. And things seem to go like a lot smoother, yeah? What's your experience?
Well, let's talk about the text message piece.
Mm-hmm.
SMS stands for what?
Shit message.
Well, that's where it comes across.
Depends on who's sending it, man.
Short message system.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
That's an FYI. Boom. So that's supposed to be like a short sentence at most. A email, if it's long, unless it's a reprimand, official communication, CYA, that's like a paragraph. So 3 to 5 sentences. Any more than that, the context is lost. Pick up the phone, Skype, Hangout, whatever your medium is, communicate live. That way you see body language, you get context, you get tone of voice. I don't think we do that. We rely so much on keyboard courage, sitting behind the phone, not the interperson or even quasi interperson, like what we're doing right now with our YouTube cast on Hangouts. I know if you're irritated at something, like, when we start talking about how cybersecurity should be like the human immune system, I know, I can see everything. I know that you are either clown shoes or you're just completely irritated. What we rely on this, and then we expect the other people to understand our unwritten connotations associated with the message, and it just doesn't happen. It gets lost.
Well, I think what gets confused is, so if you like take our discussions about like guns or immune systems or things that are contentious, even just between you and I, right? Those are debates and discussions. And debate and discussion as terms have a specific operational context, which is a format like this where, I can present my ideas, you present your ideas, and then we talk about pros and cons and whatever, right? There's no way to do that in the written form, and it's never done in the written form historically. What the written form is for is narrative, telling a story. So, right, you can write a book and somebody else can read it and they get everything they need out of it if you've written it decently. Or informing. And informing is not the same thing as telling a narrative or having a discussion or having a debate. Informing is exactly what you said. Now, granted, some embodiments of informing can take on longer structure. So maybe I got to write a few paragraphs to properly inform you of what I have in terms of information. But the nature of it is different, right? Does that make sense?
It's more official. I had an incident at work that happened on Friday. And I wrote, and I don't write a lot of emails. I don't read a lot of emails. I actually will stop reading after like the first paragraph, and I'll skim to see if there's anything I missed. But the reason why I wrote the particular email on Friday was because I was putting someone on official notice that they violated the terms and conditions of their charter, period. I put them on notice.
You were informing them of something.
Yeah.
Whereas
with the evidence associated with it.
Yeah. Whereas if you had to discuss something with a peer in that situation, I doubt you would have emailed them. You might have emailed them and said, hey, I want to talk at this time on this day. That's information. And then we can call or meet in person or whatever and actually hold a discussion or a debate about how we're going to do this thing.
Right.
And see, and I think there was a point where I agreed with the notion that we as a culture have lost our ability to exercise reading comprehension. And I think thinking that is an immature position. I think actually what's going on is people misuse the technological tools of communication insofar as they'll tell a narrative or try to have a debate in email or tweets or whatever. And it's like arguing with a cop. What are you going to argue about? That's not the proper place to do that. The proper place is to do that with the adjudicate. And that's why that position exists.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up from the adjudication point. So I immediately go right to the legal, right? We don't bring lawsuits, so to speak. The lawsuit itself is the legal notification. The argument is in person.
That's right. Yeah, so, well, like I got this long drive and there's a probability I'm going to get pulled over because of the car I'm driving with the plates it has on it. It happens all the time, particularly around like Texas and Oklahoma. You feel me? That's
why you should go to Northern Route and then have that fight with Ian here in South Bend.
Listen, tell that guy he can stop sweating. I ain't got time to take a 12-hour detour through the Midwest. Because if I was, I'd be going to visit my parents. But I'm not, because I don't want to take a 12-hour detour because I don't want to turn a 36-hour trip into a 48-hour trip.
Would it really take that much difference in time?
Yes, man. Yeah, because I've done it before. It's like an extra fucking 12 hours.
Really?
Yes.
So when you take the Northern Route from California,
mm-hmm.
What state does that know? Does this take you through Colorado? Not as far north it goes?
I'll tell you in a second. Well, because here's the other thing too. It's a lot more complicated. If you go the southern route, I go 2 small jumps to the big 40 East, and 40 East takes me directly to my house on the other side. Well, and I've done the northern route because there's two different ways to do that depending on how you get onto it. And there's a way that you go through Vegas towards Colorado and then a little up because you go through Kansas and all that shit. But then, man, you got to go down from Indiana or Ohio down the mid-Atlantic to the southeast.
No, that's right. You are going North Carolina.
That's right. So I'll tell you here in a second. Flip that. I got my stops all planned out.
Dog coming with you on this trip, or is that the next one?
That's the reason I'm driving is I'm taking the dog.
Got it.
All right,
Now,
so
are you flying back and then driving again, or are you shipping the next car?
I don't know how that's gonna. Well, I know how that's gonna work, and it does not involve me flying back and driving if that plan moves forward. If that plan doesn't move forward, then I'm gonna fly back and drive the other car out.
I think you should sell the other car and just buy a new one once you get to North Carolina.
Oh, trust me, that discussion's been had. Well, because Jeeps are actually in demand. They're always in demand.
Yeah.
Especially certain models. And we have a right model that has a little bit of demand on it. But anyway, if you go to
as a doctor, I concur with that particular.
Well, because then, I mean, then the conversation starts of, well, if we need a new car, what are we getting? Well, why wouldn't we get an electric car? But anyway. Yeah, man, you go up through because you go through Nevada and Utah instead of Arizona and New Mexico.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, and that's not bad right now because, of course, the big blocker, why you usually don't take that route is in the fall and the winter, you're going to get snowed into the Rockies and you could get butt fucked pretty hard. But yeah, man, if you got to go up to Indiana and Ohio, that's north when you should be going south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
whereas the way I'm going to go takes me pretty much in a straight line from where I'm at to North Carolina.
Right on. All right. See, this is communication in person. We work it all out, the details. If that had done in an email, dude, that takes all day long to go through those back and forth discussions.
Because it's a discussion. Whereas if I just said to you, if I was informing you of my planned route, I'm starting here at this time. I'm going to end up here at the end of day 1, then day 2, then day 3, because that's my plan. I may not meet it. Who knows why? Because I might get pulled over. But anyway, my point was
it could slow down.
There could be traffic, man. There could be construction somewhere. I've tried to plan it out, but it may not happen. So I have plan B and plan C already planned out as well. So if I get pulled over, I'm not going to argue. What's there to argue about? In fact, as a citizen, I don't want a cop arguing with citizens. If you're going to issue a citation, issue it, or whatever action you're going to take as law enforcement, take that action and move on to the next thing.
Yeah. The
place to argue is in court.
Yep. I have zero desire to typically argue with the police officer. Nothing positive can come of it. Now, there's a difference. Like if I'm out on the street, hey, let me see your ID. Why? Do you suspect me of a crime? Then place me under arrest and you'll have everything. If not, move on.
Right.
I'm not. And then I would just simply ask them if they try to block. Am I free to go? If the answer to that is no, then place me under arrest. Otherwise, I'm leaving.
Yeah, well, there's a stark difference, and this goes back to informing, right? There's a stark difference between resisting, which I'm not going to do,
no,
versus helping you incriminate me, which I'm not going to do.
Right.
I don't have to answer questions.
There's nothing. Listen here, boys and girls. Talking to any official of our government, state, local, federal, nothing good can come of it. They are not your friends. Simply take John Travolta's message and be cool. Say only what you have to, if that much.
Yeah, well, and if they need you, if you're legally compelled to answer questions, then hire an expert at answering those questions, which is a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert in answering those questions. Like I was talking to somebody, this is the one that gets me, right? The double, so this is just a scientific thing. It amazes me. The thought of how to construct the question, do you know how fast you were going? It's a double-barreled question, because if you say yes and give a speed, then you're admitting that you were going fast, which is speeding. If you say no, then you're not paying attention, which is reckless driving. That's why, is there something I can help you with? I don't answer questions.
Right. Well, I simply answer it this way. Do you know how fast you're going? Absolutely. How fast you were going? I don't need to answer that question.
Yep.
You tell me. Clearly, you've pulled me over for some reason, which I believe is false. But if you believe that I was breaking the law, then by all means, issue me the citation, and I'll see you in court.
Well, because of course, as you can imagine, we'll go back to this. Marcia got pulled over in Oklahoma the last time she did this drive. And I've gotten pulled over before doing this drive because, well, there's big drug interdiction sections where, look, man, I mean, of course there's false positives sometimes, and I'm not going to begrudge people from doing their job. I'm not going to make it hard just to be a dick, but there's a probability. So I've calculated that probability, and
I can't say I would give someone a hard time just for doing it, but
yeah,
I'm not going to really, I mean, with the police officer aspect, I'm going to answer the question. Do you know how fast you're going? Yes. Well, how fast were you going? I'm not answering that question.
Or I was traveling at the legal rate. That's it.
Well, I'm just going to say I know exactly how fast I was going. And no matter what you say it was, I'm telling you it was slower.
But so you can have simple informing like that, especially with technology. But past that, you're right, man. And so then when you add in having let's say a partial, if not a full remote workforce, I don't know how the operational rules change. It just, you might have to use a little extra technology to actually have those in-person debates or discussions or meetings like this.
It's difficult. You know, we're not, I mean, you and I are cut from pretty close to the same cloth, right? You know, we're not traditional computer science people. We'll have that debate. We'll talk it through, try to come to a conclusion. Most computer science like folks, especially those who are just traditional cybersecurity that don't really understand technology at all, they just want to argue a nuance. Or I love it when the security folks try to tell me what the risk is, and it's equivalent to the vulnerability they discovered, which takes into account not the asset value, not the countermeasures that were put in place. This is the risk. No, that's not the risk.
Yeah, well, or the mentality of the endless what if rabbit hole scenario. Well, like I'll give you an example, man. I was doing a PCI thing one time, and I was working with an external auditor, and this guy tells me, well, you know, if I could do this, if I could do that, yeah, if I could do that, I could download malicious code to your point of sale terminal and own your credit card environment. And so it's this simple if you're paying attention. Well, that's all well and good, but how are you getting the compiler down there? Because even if you got source that far, which you can't, but if you could, how are you going to compile it? There's no compiler.
I always say, you know, if I could, can you?
Right.
I'll go give you a terminal. How much time is it going to take you to do this? So if you can do it in that amount of time, STFU, don't tell me your what ifs.
Yeah, but that's the business part of it, right? Is okay, so let's assume that you could, for the sake of argument. Can you do it on a large enough scale that it presents a systemic business risk? Or are we talking about stealing credit card transactions off one terminal one time? Because on a daily basis, at the volume I was pushing at that point, you're talking about maybe 100 transactions.
I don't even think they could get it done on one terminal in the scenario in which they're talking about, unless they had inside access.
Right, which is a completely different conversation. It's not that it's not relevant, but it's a different conversation.
Yeah. So, and don't tell me the stuff about a skimmer, because that means that now we're talking physical security, and then all bets are off. And that means someone in the physical security realm didn't do their job.
That's right, which is a different conversation. And then you can't have that via email. So I had this.
None of this you could have via. It would take. We would never have gotten to this point.
No.
And here's another rule of thumb. If I have to send a second email, there won't be a third. So I highly respect my boss. In this incident that occurred, he has sent way too many emails, in my opinion. I sent one. The notification, this is happening Tuesday. There's been 3 more emails that have gone on with this. I have not done any more. I won't. I've already made my point. This is what's happening. Now, mind you, my boss is more about pushing it further. I don't think that we need to go any further. If the point's been made, I want to now put the pressure on the individual who has done what they have done in person.
Right.
They should feel the stress that they've put my team under. And, well, a threat goes much more when you look the person in the eye. In this case, it's not a threat, it's a promise.
Well,
like this again, and consequences will be extreme.
Well, and so I think longer emails, not text message. I mean, Jesus, but emails in particular, for me personally, tell me what you think about this. Longer emails for me have a purpose. And for me, the purpose of writing a long email, let's say more than a paragraph, is because I'm trying to think through the information I'm presenting, and I need a way to offload that from my memory so that because I'll forget. I mean, I'm human, right? And so because I can use technology, I can offload that, which is the whole purpose of writing as an invention anyway, is to offload cognition and memory so that I can go back and search it. And I'd be like, oh, well, I thought that. Maybe I still think that, or maybe I don't, depending on what other information's been shared. But that's the only reason I would write something longish or longer.
Yeah. You're trying to get the order down because when it's fresh in your memory, you can remember specifics. Later, you remember the nuances, the intent, the big picture, not to the aspect of, 3 months later, knowing that the person was wearing a yellow shirt with purple polka dots.
Right.
That may not be what sticks out. And then had a flower in her hair, or the guy was wearing a man bun. Those kind of nuances are likely to not stick out. Whereas the person was traveling from the south going north and ran a red light and hit me. Those things those are the important details, not.
Yeah. So, to me, when I'm informing or I'm sharing information, I just want to capture my thoughts accurately. And sometimes that takes a little bit longer writing. Well, but that's not always for the recipient. It's for the historicity of the thought itself. It's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, I get you.
But that's why on top of that, there's like meta information, right? So I sent a longish email earlier this week to somebody at the school. And right at the top, I do not require a response to this. This is just information. That's it. So, just read it. And you can read it or not read it. I'm archiving, I'm documenting something so that I have it. Because what am I going to do? Put it into a Word file and just save it? No, but there's a point to sharing the information beyond just writing it.
Well, one, it's now in Google, and so it's there forever. And two, the other person has been informed of what you're recording.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Dude, so speaking of that, since we just talked about Google and since it's communication, Facebook and Google have already been hit with potentially $8.7 billion in fines. I don't know why. If I was Facebook or I was Google, where they've probably done, they have attorneys. So they've gone through it and they've said, hey, this is what we have to do. I want one of these companies like that to say, you know what? We're no longer offering our services in Europe. Now what?
Yeah, exactly.
I would do it in a minute. Hey, if you are a European citizen, you are no longer legally permitted to use our services. If you do so, then you are violating the terms and conditions of our service. We're not going to block you. If you're doing it, you're doing it on your own. We're not doing anything. I would remove everything and be like, bye.
Yeah. Send Europe back into the dark ages.
Yeah. Good luck. That's what I would say. Good luck.
Yeah, I think I said this to you before. I don't remember if I said it like in a phone conversation or on a couple episodes ago. If I was Mark Zuckerberg, I would have told him to get fucked. I'm not going to the EU to tell you anything. And I didn't watch it, but I can't imagine it went any better than the U.S. government, because I would have told them to get stuff too.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm offering you a free service. Matter of fact, this is the next thing I would do if I was them. Every single person that's in the EU, you're going to pay $500 a year to have access to my service without me sharing data.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your choices. Pay me $500 or go the fuck back to MySpace.
Yeah. Does it even exist anymore?
I have no idea. But that's what I'd be like. Hey, go to MySpace.
Yeah. Create your own. That's the beauty. You can create your own if you want. You can make it anything you want. I mean, speaking of which, there's a reason why Google Plus never really took off, because it's not as good as Facebook. Not that I think Facebook is great, but it's certainly not as good.
Dude, I haven't used Facebook in I don't know how many years. My Facebook account's been terminated for, I don't know, 6-7 years maybe. Since well before before 2014, when I was at Silent Circle. I haven't had Facebook since before 2014. I have zero desire.
Right.
I'm perfectly fine with Twitter and LinkedIn.
Sure.
And now Coso. I've joined Coso.
But clearly the market has interest in it still. I mean, Facebook hasn't gone away. As an advertiser, this is what people aren't making the correlation to. I mean, look at what was it called? From a broadcast television perspective, Nielsen ratings. Yes.
We can tell how many households are watching what. How is this really any different? I don't think it is.
Nope. In fact, if anything, it's better. It's more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Listen, there's times where I fantasize. Real talk, man. And then I got to cut this off in a couple minutes.
Yeah, sure.
There's times where I think about what's my next step, and sometimes I think about, fuck, man, I'll go work for a marketing firm and run research. There's a lot of advanced shit they do, man.
Dude, they are using some of the same stuff that we do in cybersecurity for themselves.
Yep.
Thing. It's open source intelligence research.
100% it is.
And it's good stuff.
Well, the scientific magic of it is they use OSINT tools that are almost identical, if not are identical in some cases. I mean, they essentially have a version of Palantir, for instance. But then they couple it with data science, so they actually know how to use the information.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fucking exceedingly good at it. They're exceedingly good at using that information, man.
There's always this one that I forget. It's used all the time in gathering communications between point A and point B, and will give you the whole spider aspect of it.
Yeah.
I always forget the name of it. Let's see if I can find it real quick.
Well, and just to finish my thought too, and the beauty of them actually using the information is they have full stack integration, all the way from conceiving of a product to the creation of the product to the marketing of the product to retaining those customers or not, because it's not a value proposition to keep them. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And they know how, because they're positioning product.
Mm-hmm.
Maltego. I saw a marketing presentation not too long ago, and they brought up Maltego, and that's what they were using for. I'm like, brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, when we start talking about cross-discipline, think about, I mean, someone with a cybersecurity background and a marketing background, what the value that would be to that company. Oh.
Maybe we should go consult.
Yeah. So speaking of that, hey, check this out. I just found this out the other day. So we talked about it several weeks ago when we were talking about me going an MBA. The current CEO of DSW, pretty big shoe store, was their CIO being promoted to CEO. Boom. I think that's two. That's two in a row.
Yep.
Predictions about this. Their CIO became their CEO. Why? Because technology is what is advancing all of what we do. It just so happens to be that their discipline, the business vertical, might be financial services or delivering shoes, retail. But that's the first. And DSWs, they're not a Fortune 500, but they're a major company.
Sure there are. Well, I'll say this, and this will be my parting thought. I find it very interesting, and at least in my adult life, I have never seen, nor historically do I know of, and somebody point out where I'm wrong if I am here, please, because I'd really like to know. I have never seen a discipline like technology, and you can subdivide that into like traditional IT, cybersecurity, right? Our experience be absorbed into another discipline, business, because of the how much power those sub-disciplines yield, becoming normative to culture. Technology is becoming so normalized, and the use of it is so normalized that now it is business. And I don't know who gobbled who, so to speak, or if it's just like this symbiotic merger, maybe. But man, dude, and it's accelerating.
Well, this is the thing that I don't understand. If you're a good computer scientist type person, it's not difficult for us to learn business.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's about the consumption of data and making it actionable.
Yep. Turning data into information and communicating it.
Right. And again, I predicted a CIO would get fired for a breach. That happened. We were just a little over a year away from that when that actually occurred from our first prediction.
Yeah.
Tiny bit. Second thing I said, you're going to start seeing a trend of CIOs become CEOs. It's happening. It's almost like I just have a crystal ball.
Just tapped into the fabric of the cosmos, man. All right, everybody. I got to roll. I got an appointment to keep. Next week, we'll do Sunday if the cable guy shows up on Saturday. I have a very tight schedule for
from your phone. I've done it from my phone. Oh, you probably still have an iPhone, don't you?
I can do it. I have plenty of devices. It's just, do I want to experience that pain?
Yeah, I think you should.
Maybe I should. Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, I've done it from Google Hangouts right from my phone. You've seen it. It's fine.
Yeah, I've just never done it where I set this up like I do for us. But fuck it, man.
I have faith in you.
I can always tether through my phone because I can do that. That's my backup plan. I mean, I could walk across the fields to the relatives and use theirs, but
hey, you don't have to go that far off the field. You should do it in the sweaty South in June.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, everybody. That's it. I got to roll.
Peace.
Bye from California. Next time you see me, I'll be in North Carolina. Maybe I'll bring some of my chickens on.
You should, but it's just Carolina. You're just in the northern end of Carolina.
That's
Look,
right.
if you're going to be running for a unified Carolina, you have to start talking Carolina, the north end of Carolina.
I'll talk to y'all later.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Peace.